Hello and welcome to T Money Talks. In this week's episode, T Money is going to talk about their Thanksgiving and dealing with grief. So, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. Hello, welcome back to T Money Talks. I would just like to say, before I start this podcast episode, I would just like to say, I do apologize because in last week's episode, I forgot to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving to those of you who listen to it and celebrate Thanksgiving. I forgot to wish you a happy holidays, a very good Thanksgiving, or just a very good Thursday in general. Nonetheless, I do apologize for that. My mind was just a little bit elsewhere, I guess, in that moment in time, and that's okay, it's alright. It's quite alright, and it's just not a big deal in the sense like I'll try to remember again next year. But if I don't remember, then that's sort of again my bad and my apologies. I do apologize for that, but it's not that bad, I would just like to say that. But yeah, I forgot to tell you happy holidays last week's podcast because I often like to do that before the holidays, because I know since I upload on Wednesdays, it's quite not the holidays for all the holidays, so I like to try to wish you all good holidays when the holidays do roll around and whatnot and all that jazz. But of course, yet again, I forgot, and that's sorry. I do apologise, but I do hope you all had a very good holiday, very good Thanksgiving for those of you who do celebrate. But nonetheless, I hope you all ate really well that day, very well at the very least. That's what I hope. You ate pretty well that day. I hope you did. Anyways, I'm going to tell you about my Thanksgiving. Yeah, sorry. I'm kind of this podcast topic. I must say, I've kind of been, I don't want to say dreading or procrastinating, because that is definitely not the word. That is not the correct word for either of what I have been doing with this topic. It's kind of just been a weird topic for me to talk about, but nonetheless, it is something I do want to talk about. But before we get into that topic, I'm just kind of ramble on about my Thanksgiving. I don't really have a whole lot to say about Thanksgiving, other than it just honestly, in all honesty, it just hasn't really felt like it didn't feel like Thanksgiving this year. Because I know last year for T Money Talks, I kind of had like a Thanksgiving spectacular, or like not a Thanksgiving spectacular, but I kind of did a little fancy thing for Thanksgiving, because when the holidays come around, I do try to, for T Money Talks, bring a special guest and do something special for the holidays, but of course, not of course, but of course, I just mean, like I said, I don't know, it just haven't really felt like the holiday. It didn't feel like Thanksgiving this year. And I guess that's why I kind of forgot that Thanksgiving was coming around, or Thanksgiving was so close. Otherwise, I would have gotten Jared to come back on the podcast, and we would have done a whole Turkey Day spectacular. I was gonna say spooktacular. No, but yeah, we would have done something special for Thanksgiving, for the podcast. It would have been fun. It would have been a great time. But I don't know. It just, like I said, it just hasn't felt like Thanksgiving this year. And I mean, there's a lot of reasons probably for that, that we'll get into eventually, as this podcast goes on, because we're barely 4 minutes in. And so for me to dive into something so wild like that right now I think that would be a little insane, don't you think? Anyways, but so because it didn't really feel like Thanksgiving, I forgot to do a little Turkey Day seasonal podcast, for you guys, and that kind of sucks. It bums me out a little bit, because season 2, I have been doing pretty good with having topics and what to do and whatnot, but I don't know, I don't know what's kind of been going over me this month. I guess it's kind of just been, I feel like November. We're in November. I'm like, what month felt the fastest? November. It was November, because it was I swear November 1st was just like 2 weeks ago, and it's already about to be December just this week. This coming, yeah, when you're listening to this, it's already going to be December, and it's just so wildly insane because I'm like, oh my gosh, December already? I'm going to Seattle, and I'm just like so excited because I've always wanted to go, I have always wanted to go to Seattle. Sorry, we're going to do some side stories. This kind of podcast is just kind of be a vibe, just to let you know. Prepare yourselves for one wild, wild ride. Anyways, yeah, I've always wanted to go to Seattle, and so when I had the opportunity given to me to go to Seattle, to travel to somewhere I've always dreamed of traveling since I was a child, I knew I would have been dumb if I would have denied the opportunity, because in this lifetime I would like to travel and do as much as I can do in this lifetime, as much as I can allow myself, as much as I can afford myself. I would like to give myself as much as I can before, my time in this world comes, whenever that may be, and it's just like I want to see as much as I want to see, and for whatever reason, Seattle has just, I've never really, honestly, if I'm being honest, I've never really seen pictures of Seattle until I gotten older, like when I was a teenager and stuff. But, well, no, not even then. Not even, yeah, well, in that when I was a teenager, I got to actually I seen actual pictures of what Seattle looked like and stuff. But even before like I've ever even seen Seattle, just hearing about it and just saying the name Seattle just had always made me want to go since I was a child. So now to be going now as an adult going to Seattle, it's just, I'm just so excited. I'm gonna be so, I don't have expectations that like Seattle's gonna be like this magical place that's gonna change my life and just everything's gonna be complete and like I'm gonna live everything, like my whole life will be like complete. No, that's not the expectations like I have. I honestly don't have any expectations for Seattle other than knowing that Seattle is very forest green like, like woodsy, and that's my kind of vibes. What do they call Seattle? The rainy city, right? Yeah, that's what I'm excited about. I very much love to be outside in like the mountains. It's just very peaceful for me. It feels very calming, and I don't know, I just love the outside. I just love the outdoors. I haven't gone camping. I don't really think I would enjoy camping, but I would love to just stay in a cabin like in the middle of the woods and just for a weekend just escape. And that's kind of like, I feel like what Seattle's going to give for me, but like still in the city, which is good, which is exactly what I love. It's going to be the greatest thing for me. And yeah, I don't have expectations in the sense where I don't want to make this trip like supposed to be like this amazing, wonderful, life-changing trip that's gonna like make me who I am before the year is over. No, that's not at all what this trip is. It's just like, or that's not at all like the expectations I have for this trip. It's just, I am going to a new place I have never been before, and I'm going to explore and see as much of it as I can see with the time I will be there. And I'm just gonna, and yeah, that's just kind of how I'm going in with this, is just really no expectations other than just experiencing something new, and I'm very excited for that. And I don't know what I'm going into. I don't know what Seattle's like, other than that it rains and it's cold because it rains, and it's got a lot of greenery and it's got some forests, and I love forests, and some of Twin Peaks was filmed in there, and I'm a fan of Twin Peaks. I love Twin Peaks, and hopefully my friend and I are going to eat at the Twin Peaks diner, not necessarily where we are staying in Seattle. It's kind of about a trip a little bit outside of Seattle to get to the diner, but we're hopeful to make plans to go to the diner. If it doesn't happen, it's not a big deal. There are some I'm going to ride a ferry boat. That is the one thing I must do in Seattle. Ride a ferry boat. Why? Because I love Grey's Anatomy, and damn it, Derek Shepherd loved ferry boats, and I'm not now. Oh, gee, I shook the mic trying to make my point. Now, I'm not riding this ferry boat because I like Derek Shepherd, because I'm a fan of Derek Shepherd, because I think he's McDreamy. No, nonsense, not at all. I am riding a ferry boat strictly because it is associated with Grey's Anatomy, and I love Grey's Anatomy. I am a #1 fan of Grey's Anatomy. This is a T-Money fun fact for you. If you didn't already know, Grey's Anatomy is one of my favorite shows. I love Doctor Who, and then Grey's Anatomy, it just smacks me. It just hits me in a way that just, I could rewatch that show just so many times that I just, it's my comfort show, I guess you could say, but it's also just, I can't get enough of it. I will continue to, like, I'll fall asleep to it, and then I'll still continue to watch it. Anyways, enough Grey's Anatomy talk. I'm losing focus as to what we were even talking about, because honestly I completely forgot what we were talking about because I started talking about Grey's Anatomy, and now I'm like, what were we talking about? I'm trying to get back to what we were talking about. So I know we were talking something, this has to do with Thanksgiving. I'm assuming this has to do with Thanksgiving. I was talking about Grey's Anatomy. Before that, I was talking about Doctor Who. Oh, Seattle. This has nothing to do with Thanksgiving. This has everything to do with my trip to Seattle. I am so silly sometimes. Sorry. The topic of grief, we're going to get there eventually at some point. It just... Honestly, it's a hard thing for me to talk about. But anyways, yes, back to my trip to Seattle. Yes, because I'm a fan of Grey's Anatomy. The one thing I would like to do, one thing I just need to do while I'm in Seattle is ride a ferry boat just to fulfill my Grey's Anatomy fangirl dreams. That is all I want to do. That is the one thing I really ask for of this trip. I'm talking to myself when I say this. Like, that's the one thing I want out of this trip, is to just ride a ferry boat, because Derek Shepherd rode ferry boats, and yeah, and I just want to ride it the one time, and I'll be satisfied. I may not even like it. Who knows how I'll enjoy it, but I will just do it because I'm a fan of Grey's Anatomy. But yeah, I'm also very excited for other things that Seattle has to offer. So much to do, so much to explore. 3 days in the rainy city. What will we explore? Well, I hope we do a lot. I'm very excited. I have my outfits planned. I'm hoping I get my pants before my trip. I ordered some black Dockers because slowly, ladies and gentlemen, slowly I am trading all of my pants for Dockers because I just look so good in them. I feel so good in them. They look so nice. I'm elevating. I'm leveling up as I go. As we move into the year 2022, as I will finally, as one will say, rise to my highest self. I will be fully blossomed, if you will. I will drop an EP that will just be so good that it changes waves. It changes my life completely. This EP that I'm working on, this trip to Seattle, I don't even know where I'm going with this anymore, guys. I think I was just stalling. Anyways, yeah, so I'm very excited about my trip to Seattle. I don't know where I was going with that last statement. I think I was just, honestly, I was like talking. I don't know if I think I've said this before in season 1, but I was like, because there's times, I hope there's other people who do this too, but I was like talking like this, but in my head, my lips were moving, things were coming out of me, but my mind was not at all there. I have no idea what I was talking about. Why I do have a little bit of an idea of what I was talking about, but I have no idea where I was going with it because my mind wasn't there. I was just kind of letting my mouth move, you know? I was just letting words come out as I pondered around in my thoughts. Anyways, but yeah, so I'm very excited for this trip to Seattle. A lot of good things are coming. I'm slowly elevating my wardrobe. What the heck? I'm slowly elevating my wardrobe. Hi, my name's T Money, and I'm slowly elevating my wardrobe. And if you ask me what a wardrobe is, well, wardrobe is another term for wardrobe when someone can't properly speak, so that's wardrobe. Thanks, T Money, for the welcome back. Thanks for this segment of T Money's word of the day, wardrobe. Write that down, folks. I'm gonna test you later. The T Money's word of the day, podcast word of the week is wardrobe. Remember that. That's gonna go viral. Wardrobe. Anyways, yeah, I'm slowly upgrading my wardrobe. But yeah, and then on Thanksgiving, how was my Thanksgiving? My Thanksgiving was good. I went to my aunt's house with my mom, and it was just my aunt, my cousin, and my cousins, and then my cousin's girlfriend, and we all just had a good time. We all ate. We had some turkey. My cousin made ribs. My other cousin made mac and cheese. My mom made some broccoli, like crack casserole type thing. I don't really know. I don't eat it. I don't like broccoli. Anyways, but yeah, it was a good time. Then I played with my little cousin, taught her to roller skate just a little bit better, at least when she finally let me teach her, that is, because I was like, I'm not going to baby you because I know you know how to roller skate. You just need some tips. And so that's like what I was doing with her. And that was a good time. And then we all watched a movie. And then we went home, and then that was it. That was about all I did for Thanksgiving. Like, again, it just really didn't feel like Thanksgiving this year. It just didn't really feel like a holiday. And I don't know why, because last year's Thanksgiving definitely felt like Thanksgiving. It definitely felt like the holidays. But, of course, there are a lot of different factors that have changed this year. And it sucks. But it is what it is. It is what it is. Because now we are going to slowly ease our way into this topic. This topic of grief and, and what it is. And I'm not necessarily going to tell you how to deal with grief or ways to cope with grief or like tips and tricks and all that jazz. Because quite honestly, I don't really have any. Because honestly, grief is like healing. Not what no, not grief is like healing. Grief is healing. Healing from grief is hard. Grief just adds on to the healing process of what you were already healing from. Because losing someone, especially someone so close to you, it's hard. It's a hard thing to deal with. It's a hard thing to, especially this switch. Okay, I gotta figure out what exactly it is I'm trying to say, because this is a topic I've kind of been dreading talking about, only because, like, having lost my grandmother just last year, due to the pandemic, but also knowing that I'm not the only one who has lost someone they loved due to this pandemic. And so, although I didn't necessarily want to fully talk about this topic, I knew that this would be a good topic to eventually talk about because, we're in a time right now, we're still in a pandemic where people are still dying, people are still losing loved ones every day, and it sucks and it's hard, and like so many people still don't believe that this disease is real or that like this thing actually takes lives, and it's like until they experience it or they see it for themselves, it's hard, and honestly, I think the one tip I could say when it comes to grief or when it comes to losing someone, that when you lose them, you need to fully let yourself feel that pain or feel that emotion, feel whatever it is you're feeling, to truly just feel it and embrace it and just let it out and express it like in any like safe and healthy way you can, because I think if you try to hold it in even just a little bit, even just slightly, that's going to make the process of grieving so much harder, the process of healing from that loss so much harder, because I feel like when you don't when you don't fully allow yourself to feel that pain of losing that person you loved, or not allowing yourself to fully like feel the loss of that person, of that energy, and when you I feel like when you don't truly accept it, when you don't choose to feel all of it, it affects how long you grieve, and or how hard the loss affects you. Because I feel like you could even like just slightly not let it not fully like let yourself feel it, that little bit you let not feel it will like linger for a long time, and like every now and then kind of like hit you at random times when you're like, why am I crying? What is going on? And then it's just like something so little and so minuscule, something so small that you would have never thought that, that little thing reminded me of that person, and that's why I'm crying right now. It like not even because like it was something someone said or something you watched, simply because something triggered a memory or an emotion that made you think of that person, and then you just immediately just start crying uncontrollably, and you're like, why? What is going on? Mr. Krabs, do you how do? What on earth is going on? My eyes cannot stop. Anyway, sorry. I'm once again was losing my mind in that moment. Anyways, yeah, because I feel like when you don't really fully allow yourself to express that loss when it first happens, when it's fresh, it's hard to like let out everything again, because it's like you closed off that part of accepting that loss. So it makes it even harder for you to accept it when you're like, okay, I think I'm ready to move on. It makes moving on that much harder, because it's like, well, then you have so many things to think about, because you didn't fully like choose to like let yourself cry over it, or let yourself be upset or be angry or feel whatever it is you needed to feel about it. I feel like that would be my only advice when it comes to grief, or when it comes to losing someone, is to just let yourself feel whatever it is you need to feel, whether it's anger, whether it's sadness, whatever it is, madness, just feel it and let it out, and then just do whatever it is you gotta do to be okay with the loss, be okay with the person not being there. Because I'm still grieving the loss of my grandmother. I think a big part of for me why this year was so hard was because Thanksgiving, at least on my grandmother's side, wasn't at her house this year, and it just, for as long as I can remember, for all of my life, all of the Thanksgivings were always at my grandmother's house. So I guess for me, it kind of hit home the idea that, oh, well, it's not going to be Thanksgiving at my grandmother's house. So it's kind of real that like she's not there anymore, and it's like that hurts a little bit, because it's like you get reminded of it, and it's like, yeah, and two, like, this isn't to say like even after you moved on from it, or you like thought you've completely moved on, completely healed from it. It's just like grief can hit you at strange times. It's like something so small could just set you off, or even like two, even if like you have healed from it, and you just start to cry because you're like, dang, I wish my this person was here on this holiday, and you cry, you shed a tear or something, and like, that's okay. Like that's also okay too. Like that's good. You know, you gotta express yourself, express your emotions, let out the things you feel. You know, don't hold anything inside, because holding things inside just builds things up and makes your mind get all crazy and unwind and twist and turn and move and work in ways that just are not okay. And it's better to let things out than let things be unsaid, because after all, once you let it out, once you write it down, once it's out of your head, it's out of your head, and there's no way it could hurt you anymore, or no way it can affect you as much anymore, you know, because once you write it down, once you talk about it, once you say it out loud, it's out of your head, it's been said, so you could kind of move on from the thought, which is why I I always say, like, feel what you feel. I always not want feel what you feel, like, say whatever it is, say feel like however you're feeling, express yourself in whichever way you want, you know, because at the end of the day, I don't really know what I'm saying. I mean, I don't, well, in the sense that I had no idea where I was going with that. I had no idea where I was going with that sentence. But on all honesty, you know, this is also just like my topic. My topic, this is all just my opinion. These are just all my thoughts. This is just what goes on in my head, you know. All that I say from these past 26 minutes are just simple thoughts that come from my head. Not to say that I'm not saying that what I say is true, what I say is good advice, but I'm telling you that what I say comes from a place of mind that's just a little bit crazy. Just a little bit crazy it is, and well, whether you take my advice or whether you listen to the words that I have to say, that's up to you. But other than that, I don't really know what I'm saying. I am simply just talking from a person who is going through experiences in life, and I want to tell you whether or not they're good. You know, or with not. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that one. I don't know. I think I was just switching through accents so much that I really lost the train of thought of where I was going. Other than saying that I'm kind of really just talking. Whether you listen to the things that I have to say, that's really up to you. I'm not telling you have to listen to everything that I'm saying. Honestly, you could just listen to this podcast just because you'd want to have something on in the background, or you're like, this seems pretty interesting, let's give it a listen, and you're not interested at all, or the things I have to say, you don't agree with them at all. That's perfectly fine, you know. You are your own human being, and I'm not here to tell you what to do, and I'm not going to tell you how to feel or how to think. I'm simply going to say, this is what I do, and this is what works for me, and if you'd like to give that a try, well then hey, give it a try, that'd be really cool. But if you don't want to give it a try, mates, that's fine by me. So you're not going to hurt my feelings, it's not going to hurt me, you know. I'm honestly just doing this because I've been, it's helped me to learn to talk to people. It's helped me learn to talk a little bit better. And honestly, I'm bored half the time. Ever since this pandemic started, my mind's just been wild. And ever since I lost my grandmother, my mind's just, I think it's just slowly unwinding a little bit every day by day, you know. This grief is real, you know. It's hard sometimes, and I'm just like, man, why? I'm living in a life where you're not here, and honestly, it sucks. It's hard for me. It's hard some days, but you know, I'm alright. I'm okay. Nothing too bad. You know, nothing that's harmful or nothing. I don't know really what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, like, sometimes I get a little bit sad because I miss my grandmother, and it sucks that she's no longer here, or that I can't give her a hug no more on holidays or wish her or anything like that, and it sucks, you know. But this grief thing, it comes and goes. It comes and goes in waves sometimes. It'll be gone for like years, you know. You'll think you're over things, and then just bam, it hits you again at random times, and it's like, that's okay. You know, it's okay. It is what it is. It is life. We experience loss. We have to deal with it. We have to heal from it, you know, honestly. Honestly, I feel like that's something I don't think anyone's ever shown me a viewpoint of loss like that, of grief, or at least I don't think I ever understood it that way. That I never really understood that you had to heal from grief. You had to heal from this loss of someone. Like, yeah, I know, like losing someone is painful and you have to learn to deal with it, but that's kind of like all I've understood when it comes to like losing someone, is the idea of that you have to deal with like that or like either deal or move on from like this person, like just accept that they're gone, and then like that's it, it's over. Like there's nothing you could do about it, there's nothing you could change. And like, yes, of course, that's all true, but when I have come to learn that it's like this is something you have to heal from, I think that changes the perspective of it for me. It's that grief isn't something you just move on from. Grief is something you have to heal from. You have to heal from this loss of this person. You have to heal from like no longer feeling the love or the energy or the support or being able to see this person anymore. And that's why I feel like for some people they can move on from it for only for so long before like they finally, like before something happens that triggers their grief back, and then they're just like suddenly like having a breakdown or just crying, or like they end up in like an insane asylum, because like suddenly like they accept and then they feel the loss that they refuse to like fully allow themselves to feel and heal from, and it's just like sends people spiraling, and it sucks. And it's hard loss, but now I see it as something that you don't move on from. It's some healing. It's, oh my goodness. Grieving is something you heal from. It's losing someone is something you heal from. You have to learn. Yeah, you have to learn to move on, but you also have to learn to heal yourself from that loss. You have to learn to, because I think that's what the hardest part is for me, is like knowing that that person is, it's knowing that the energy, the love, the care, the support you've had from that person is no longer there. I think that's the hardest part for me to heal from, because of the pandemic, it has made seeing people so hard, and I think that, and because of the pandemic too, it's also made things hard to accept that, like, because of the pandemic, it has also made it hard for me, and I think others as well, to like fully accept or like comprehend. But yeah, I feel like it's definitely made me, and I know a friend of mine also feels this way, so I'm sure there's other people who feel this way too, but I feel like because of this pandemic, it has made feeling the loss of someone, like feeling like knowing that someone has died or someone has passed away, like feeling that loss has been like harder to like fully like for it to fully like register or for it to fully hit you, because it's like, well, you haven't seen that person in so long. It's like, is it like, I guess it's hard to like, yeah, no, like I said, it's like hard to register that like, yeah, this person actually is gone, like they're no longer here in this physical world with us anymore, and I think, and that's been really hard, because it's like you don't realize that person is gone until you go back to the places where they used to be all the time, and then, oh Jesus, oh jeez, I hit the mic. Anyways, it's like, it's like it becomes hard because it doesn't really register until you're in the places where they used to be and they're no longer there, and then you're like, oh man, yeah, it is real, like it did happen, they are gone. It wasn't just like some fever dream that we all had for a year, it's like, no, it was real, it was reality, and it hurts and it's painful. And I feel like because of this pandemic, it's gonna make grieving a lot harder for people, because I feel like I don't know, this pandemic has just made it hard. I feel like I every time I think I have healed from like the loss of my grandmother, or I've like the grief has gotten easier. It's like I go back to my grandmother's house, or like something happens, or like something like, like something little happens, and I'm like, oh man, that's right, she's like no longer here anymore. I think that's why it's been so much harder. It's because it's like every time I've thought I moved on from it, it's only because like we're in a time where it's like not easy to see everyone all the time. Also, not only because of the pandemic, but also because of my situation. I'm not driving anymore. Well, I'm not that I'm not driving anymore. It's I'm slowly getting back to driving. Let's rephrase that. I am slowly getting back to driving. The current dilemma is that I don't have a car. So since I don't have a car, it's hard for me to travel to see other people, on top of the pandemic, on top of like going outside of the world means possibly, being exposed to something, and like that also is like terrifying. And there's just so many things, so many chaotic things that are going on that just that you're just throwing on top of like having to heal from like this loss and having to deal with grief. And it's just, I don't know, at the end of the day, I just feel like I just want to say that I hope everyone is doing okay, and that I just want to let you know that you are doing amazing, and everyone is doing their best right now. And I feel like if doing your best is all you can do, then gosh darn it, you are doing fabulous. Because in these trying times, in this time of this, what's about to go on a 2-year pandemic, is it? I'm not quite sure, and I don't know math. Anyways, I feel like if you're not doing our best is all we really can do, because not everyone is doing their best, and not everyone is following along to help make the world a safer and healthier place again. And because of that, makes me worry a lot. But anyways, I feel like that's all I want to say about the topic of grief. Grief kind of makes it's hard to talk about. I don't really feel like I'm one to have a whole lot to say about it, or have a whole lot of advice to say. I do feel a little bit better. I just feel like I had a lot to say about how I've been dealing with it, how I've been going through with it. And I don't know, like, I don't know. I mean, just like, as always, like every T Money podcast episode is about me just telling you my experiences, and in hopes that maybe whatever I've gone through or what I've done can possibly help you with whatever it is you're going through, or whatever it is you're dealing with. Because after all, that's what T Money Talks is all about. I'm here to help. I'm here to just, give my life advice to those, or give what I have learned, or just give my 2 cents about things, or to help get your brain start moving, to help get your mind start thinking about other things, because after all, I could tell you what to do all day long, but honestly, it's all up to you about what you want to do with your life. And I'm just here I hate when people tell me what to do, which is why I always say I'm simply just saying things you can try, or you could do if you would like. I'm not telling you what to do, because I don't want people to tell me what to do. And so I'm just like, here's some things I have to say. Here's my soapbox. Listen if you'd like. If you'd like, that would be cool. It'd be really cool if you like it, because it could possibly change my life. But anyways, that's all I have to say. I don't know. I'm excited for Seattle Christmas. I'm honestly excited for Christmas this year. I know things may not be exactly the same for Christmas this year, but I'm still excited for nonetheless. I'm still excited for Christmas nonetheless. I am excited for the new year. I am excited for the Seattle. I am excited for many of the blessings that are slowly coming my way. And honestly, I have nothing else to say. I'm just trying to stall to get just a little bit more time in, because I know I know there's quite a bit of stuff I'm gonna have to edit out, or like sometimes where I just wasn't talking. There was 1 minute where I was like kind of like zoned out for a couple of seconds there, and I was like, oh yeah, the mic is still recording, and I'm like, oh, that sucks. I'm gonna have to edit that out, which means I'm gonna have to talk just a little bit more. And then I was also thinking about how on season 1 I had Jer guest star on the podcast so many times, and that's because I had known topics and not a whole lot to talk about. And now that I'm on episode 17, I'm like, yes, now I know why I had Jer on like 10 on 10 podcast episodes, because it is so hard to talk to yourself. Well, no, not it's not too hard to talk to yourself. It's just hard when you have things to talk about that you don't have a whole lot to really go off on or really talk about, is what I should say. But anyways, nonetheless, I do hope you all had a really good Thanksgiving. I am very excited for my trip to Seattle. When you're listening to this, when this podcast comes out, it will be a day away from my trip to Seattle, and then next week's podcast episode, I will be telling you all about my time in Seattle, so get excited for that. I am excited for it. I'm hoping for an amazing time. I already know it's going to be an amazing time. Anyways, I think that's all I have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed all the rambling things that I had to say this week. So until next week, guys, this is T Money saying live your life, because you are the only one who gets it. All right, bye.